is going to record my voice and my screen that I'm sharing. It will also record any of you who speak out loud, but it will not record the chat. If any of you have an issue with this, feel free to leave the call, and I can always send you a copy of the recording if you do not want to be recorded this afternoon. But again, it'll only record you if you speak up. So if you have any concerns, just go ahead and stay silent. We're not recording your camera or anything like that. All right, so we're going to go ahead and jump in. Go ahead and post any questions you have throughout the presentation in the chat. And again, stay muted until the end. And let me make sure my clicker's working here. Okay, perfect. So today we're talking about Screencastify. Screencastify is a tool to do screencast recordings, and we'll go over all of that in a minute. As a quick introduction, my name is Alexandra Hancock, and I'm an instructional technology trainer with the district. So my whole job is different how-tos with technology. I do one-on-one appointments, I do webinars, I do phone calls, I do video appointments. So I'm really accessible to you. If you have any concerns or training needs with technology, feel free to reach out to me. My email is here on the slide, as well as my Google Voice number. So you can call or text that number and I'm happy to help you. You may have also worked with my counterpart, Angela Gama. Feel free to reach out to her as well if you have any training needs. We're both pretty accessible. We know that this shift to distance learning and distance work has been a big one for a lot of you, so we definitely want to be as supportive as we can be and help you with your training needs. So let's go ahead and dive in. This is our agenda for the next roughly 40 minutes or so. We're going to first just establish what screencast is. I think we all might have a slightly different definition of what a screencast is. So we're just going to identify what a screencast is and just to give a couple of quick examples. And then before we get into our own screencasting, I want to talk about what makes for a good screencast. Because I think we've all been there where we watched a really boring screencast of somebody just droning on and on and on and not getting to the point. So we're going to talk about how to make your screencasts more engaging and how to make them, more interesting to your audience. And then we'll dive specifically into the Screencastify tool that I like to use. We'll talk about what it is, what the features are, what the costs are, whether or not we can do student accounts if we have time for that. And then I didn't update my agenda here. We are not going to go hands-on because this is not an in-person training. And then we'll talk about how you share your recordings, how you can create links, how you can send them to YouTube, and there will be time for a Q&A at the end. So we've got a lot of content to cover here about these different tools. So, and then as a reminder, you are going to get a copy of this slideshow presentation, and you will also get a copy of the recording after this afternoon. So you are going to get all the support resources you need to go ahead and explore this tool on your own after today's webinar. All right, so what is screencasting? Odds are you've probably seen a screencast, you just weren't aware of it. So a screencast is a recording of all or part of your computer screen, typically accompanied by voice narration, although sometimes people do silent screencasts. So it's essentially exactly what that says. It's a recording of whatever you're doing on a particular part of your screen with you walking through the steps step by step. So some examples you might see as tutorial videos, training videos, different video lessons, or sometimes people will record their presentation and they'll send that out via a screencast as well. If you've ever sent me any sort of help email and I've sent you a little video back on how to do something, I sent you a screencast, and usually I sent that to you using Screencastify. So again, odds are you've seen it, you just might not have the word to describe what it is. So let's talk about, now that we kind of know what a screencast is, what are some things that make for a quality screencast? So again, we've all had that experience of watching a really boring 15-minute long YouTube video where the guy drones on and on and on and takes 3 minutes to get to the step that you need. So how do we prevent that? How do we keep our audience from getting bored? How do we keep our screencasts engaging? So the first rule of any video production, keep it short and simple. So identify what the point of your screencast is and do enough to cover that point. We don't want to go on and on and on. We don't want to offer all kinds of background information. Keep it short, keep it simple. Number 2, prepare, 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 prepare. When you first start doing screencasts, it's nerve-wracking. I'm not going to lie to you on that. It's a little bit odd to be recording yourself and you're not always sure if you know the right step and what if I say this and I sound stupid. So it's always best to prepare beforehand. Write yourself a little script if that helps you, or write some bullet points on what you need to make sure to cover. Walk through the steps before you actually record it so you're confident in what you're going to see and where you click. As you get better at screencasting, the amount of preparation you'll need to do for each screencast will lessen. So when I first started doing screencast, I made sure to write myself little bullet points of every topic I need to cover. I walked through the steps quite a few times. I took really rigorous notes to make sure my screencast covered exactly what I wanted. Now that I do screencasts all the time, my preparation process is a lot more streamlined. I might take a couple notes here and there, but for the most part in my head, I know what I want to say. So I just kind of run through it in my head real quick, walk through the steps one time just to make sure I'm not getting surprised by anything, and then I jump into recording. So the amount of preparation you'll need to do will lessen as you get more comfortable with it, but it is initially kind of an uncomfortable thing. So preparing beforehand will lessen that discomfort quite a bit. Another thing is just be conversationally. We've all, again, watched those videos where somebody drones on and they use really complex jargon and they're really monotone. Those are not engaging videos to watch. So be conversational, engage your audience, let your tone vary, try not to speak too quickly, which is a struggle I have, but be as conversational as possible so it sounds more natural to the person watching the video. Don't sweat small mistakes. The people who are watching the video don't care if you say or if you say one word and meant another. It's okay. If you make a mistake, just acknowledge it, move on, correct it, move on, and don't let it fluster you. Because again, it's a kind of a nerve-wracking process to record yourself. So those little mistakes can feel like really big mistakes and cause us to stumble when we're recording, and really our audience isn't going to notice. However, if you do make a couple mistakes and you're getting flustered and you're getting in your own head, you can pause your recording. There are times that I do this with Screencastify where something's not working quite right, or I said something wrong, or something isn't loading. So I'll pause the recording. I'll kind of reset to where I need to be, mentally take a deep breath, and just start again. And I'll unpause and continue the recording, and I'm good to go. So that's always a good trick to have up your sleeve, is just pause, give yourself a minute to reset if you're getting flustered, and then just move on. In conjunction with keeping things short and simple, stay on topic. This, again, is another thing that I have a little bit of difficulty with. As a trainer, I love to share information. And a screencast is not the place for that. The screencast is not the place for me to tell you about the history of Schoology and why we have it and why that's not the point. You don't care. You're there to see what the screencast is about. So stay on topic. Don't go off on a rabbit holes. Give just enough information to support the goal of the video, but don't go on tangents or anything like that. Try and stay focused on your topic. And then depending on what tools you use for screencasting, you can always go back and do some editing. So with Screencastify in particular, we are going to be able to trim off the beginnings and the ends if those go on a little bit long. There's not a whole lot of robust editing tools in the free version, but certain tools will allow you to do more formal editing. And then one quick note here, it doesn't get its own bullet point, but it's within the idea of keeping it short and simple. Typically, studies show that viewer engagement of a video tends to drop off after 5 minutes, with viewers really not being engaged after about 10 minutes. And if you think back to your own watching of YouTube tutorials, I'm sure you can kind of notice that pattern in yourself where you watch for a little bit, you get bored, you kind of lose focus, and you come back 3 minutes later and you're not totally sure what happened. So a good rule of thumb is to try and keep your video under 10 minutes. And really under 5 minutes is going to be better. And it's better to make lots of small videos that have really focused topics than one long video that's harder to, find what the particular person is looking for. One other thing that doesn't get its own bullet point here is using your webcam. If at all possible and you're comfortable with it, it's always a good idea to turn on your webcam. That said, this is a do as I say, not as I do. I know we're working from home. Maybe we're not looking our best right now, so certainly don't feel like you have to turn on your webcam. But again, studies show that viewers will be more engaged with a video if they see a face. So I would encourage you to think about your students in this case. If you are making videos for students, your students have probably only seen their parents and maybe their siblings for several weeks now. So this is a good opportunity for them to actually see you as their teacher. So you might want to turn on your webcam and just maybe lean into it, give yourself a wacky hairstyle, or put something silly in the background, just to increase that personal connection with your screencast videos that you're creating. So those are some things that make for a quality screencast. So we're going to talk a little bit now about that preparation process. that's going to look, oh, and when you do share your video, share it smart. We'll talk about that at the end as well. But when you do make a video, again, we talked about you need to do that preparation. And the preparation is going to look different for each person because we all create differently. But whatever your preparation looks like and whatever your storyboarding process looks like, I always recommend you start with this question here. Always start with the end goal in mind. What do you want your audience to know or be able to accomplish after viewing the screencast video? So always start with that question in mind. What is the end goal? If the end goal is submitting an assignment in Schoology, okay, now we walk through the steps to get there. If the end goal is just signing into Wonders, okay, that's our end goal. How do we get there? So once you've identified your end goal, then you create the steps necessary to get to that goal. And that's where the storyboarding process starts to happen. And again, this is going to look different depending on your level of comfortability with the tool and your level of comfortability with speaking kind of on the fly for these recordings. But I definitely recommend finding some way to write down the steps or the visuals on screen that you need to walk through to accomplish your goal, and then give yourself some sort of note about the dialogue that you need to have. For you, it might just be a few bullet points, you know, cover MCS for Kids page, the staff applications page, the login information, like 3 bullet points and you're good. You might instead be the type of person who needs a full-fledged script. Go ahead and write yourself out a script. So kind of find the method of storyboarding that works for you that makes you the most comfortable. So here's a couple different examples of what storyboarding might look like for you. It might just be you create little segments of video. You give yourself some notes on what the visuals are happening, you know, click here, then click there, then type in this, and then give yourself a little narrative of the audio. Or maybe you're a little bit more visual in how you write stuff out. And so you do a little sketch of the screen and give yourself some notes below the sketch of the screen. Or, now this is kind of the idea here is another little scene where you set up the dialogue and the action for yourself. Or you just make a table and say step 1, action on screen, narration. Step 2, action on screen, narration. Or, like I said, you might get to a point where you can do this all in your head and you don't need to do the storyboarding here. But I just want to give you some different ideas so you can find a way to storyboard out these videos that make sense to you. All right, so enough of like the preparation. We know what makes for a good screencast. We know how to storyboard our video. We're starting with the goal and we've got the steps down, we got our dialogue down. So what tool do we use to do our screencasting? There are a lot of different options. But today specifically, we're talking about Screencastify. So why Screencastify? First and foremost, it's free. And you'll notice the asterisk there. We're going to talk about some of the paid features that you can have, but it's free. We don't have a district license for it because we haven't needed one. Also, the free features are more than sufficient for most of your screencasting needs. Additionally, Screencastify is really easy to use. It's a, we'll go over how easy it is to use. It's really easy to use. Number 3 is it protects your privacy. Screencastify has some really rigorous data privacy stuff written into their privacy policy. They don't sell your data. They don't store your data. They've got some different data safety certifications. So I love that about them. Some of their competitors' data policies are not as robust. So that's another selling point on me. For me, for Screencastify is they're not out there selling my data to every advertiser. They're primarily making their money on their subscriptions, so I don't need to worry about my data being sold. Number 4, because Screencastify protects your data, that means they don't store your videos. Instead, they're an intermediary, so the videos that you make are automatically saved to your Google Drive. The nice thing about this is if you sign up with your district account, which I highly recommend, you have a terabyte of storage on your district account. So that's a huge amount of space for you to store these screencast videos. You're not going to run out of space anytime soon. Number 5, Screencastify is a Chrome extension, and it's something that our IT department has already whitelisted, so anyone can install it. You don't need to call the help desk and have them install it for you. You can install it yourself. Let's talk a little bit more about that. It's free, ? So the basic version is free, and that's what I use. I use the free version. And as you can see here in the gray, this is what comes with the free version. So you do have a cap of 5 minutes per video, which I know for some teachers is not quite enough, but you do have a recording limit of up to 5 minutes. which kind of is in line with our good quality screencast time. And then you can record your screen, your webcam. You can trim your videos. It's automatically saving to your Google Drive. You can actually export those videos as MP4 files or GIFs or MP3 files. So you could then edit those videos in some other editing program. They are full HD resolution. They don't have any watermark on them, so they're not going to have this obnoxious Screencast-o-matic watermark on them. There are annotation tools that can come with it, so you can highlight different things if you need to. And then there is an ability to publish directly to YouTube. So that's kind of a nice thing. If you do have a YouTube channel, you can directly publish to YouTube. These here are the educational pricing. So if you are a teacher, you can get the unlimited version for $30 a year. And then that gives you unlimited recording time and just a couple extra features. But my motto is always, go with the free version until you need to pay for it. The free version has been sufficient for me. I have unlimited amount of recordings I can do. I'm just capped at 5 minutes per, and that's worked for me pretty well. All right, so let's get started. So how do I get Screencastify? I'm sold. I know how to make this. I know what makes a good screencast. I'm prepared. Let's get the tool going. So to install Screencastify, if you don't already have it, you're going to open up Google Chrome. It is a Google Chrome extension, so you have to use Google Chrome in order to use Screencastify. You're going to go to screencastify.com. And on the website that loads up, there are two big blue buttons that you can click on. So you can click Add to Chrome. Either place you see it, you'll click on Add to Chrome. That will take you to the Chrome Web Store, which my pop-ups here are not quite behaving in the order I thought. Once the Chrome Web Store opens up, you're going to click Add to Chrome one more time. There might be a final pop-up that shows up confirming that you want to add this to Chrome. If you see that, go ahead and click on it, and that will install the extension for you. Again, this extension is already whitelisted, so you don't need help installing this. Just add to Chrome, add to Chrome, add to Chrome. Boom, it's installed for you. Once it's installed, up along the top there where the address bar is, the little Screencastify logo is going to show up. So once we install it, we now have the next step of creating our account. To create your account, once the extension is installed, you're going to click on it. So you're going to look up at the top there, look for that little orange triangle with the camera in it. Go ahead and click on that. And you're going to be brought to the account creation process. So the first thing it's going to do is it's going to ask you to sign in with Google. Again, that's because it's not storing anything, so it needs access to your Google Drive to save files to your Google Drive. So you'll sign in with Google. I highly recommend you use your district account. So the @monet.k12.ca.us. Go ahead and use your district account and accept any permissions that come up. So you'll say, yes, you can use my camera and microphone. Yes, you can use my drawing and annotation tools. There might be a pop-up that shows up in your top corner. You'll say allow, and all those permissions will be accepted so Screencastify can work optimally. Once you have all those accepted, click next. Oh, here we go. And then click allow. And then there'll be a few other questions about what your role is, what you're planning on using this for. So let it know that you're a teacher, you work in education, just answer those sign-up questions. That's just so they have demographic information on who's using their product. And finish signing up, and you're ready to go. So now that we've got the extension installed and our account set up, how do we do a screencast recording? So let's walk through the steps of actually doing a recording of our screen. So first and foremost is always prepare your storyboard idea or your idea. So all those good steps we just walked through, make sure you're actually ready to shoot the video before you do this. And if this is your first time ever screencasting, just do a couple practice ones, do something short, simple, something you know how to do to get that first one out of your system before you dive into something new. Once you're prepared, get everything ready on your screen. So if you need to go to the district webpage, open up the district webpage. If you're doing something in OneNote, get OneNote opened up, open up a fresh blank page, essentially whatever you need to do, make sure you prepare the things you need on screen for the screencast. Once you have everything prepared, go ahead and open up Google Chrome. If you already have it open because you're on a website, that's totally fine. You just need to make sure that Google Chrome is open somewhere because we need Chrome open to use the extension. Once we have everything open and approved here, then we can click on the Screencastify extension. So we have Chrome opened up. We can click on the Screencastify extension there, and this little control window will pop up here. And this is our recording control. So just, if we get everything set up, open up Google Chrome, click on the Screencastify extension, and this guy will pop up here. Once we click on that extension, sorry, my clicker isn't working here. How do we actually record the screencast? So we first need to set up our options here. So the first thing we need to do is we need to decide what we're recording. Are we recording a specific browser tab? Are we recording our entire desktop? Or are we just recording our webcam? So this is a kind of a nice thing, is you can just record your webcam if you just want to make a quick message for your students. I recommend typically doing the desktop recording. The browser tab recording is nice because you're just recording the tab that you're actively on. But if there's any pop-up windows that happen or any new tabs that open up, the recording doesn't carry over to those. So the desktop is kind of the best one to record with. So go ahead and click on desktop there. And again, you might do the webcam or something like that, but you're going to more or less record at the desktop. And then just double check your camera and microphone settings. If you want the microphone on, which you typically will, toggle on the microphone and make sure it's working. You should see, if you test and speak, you should see the audio levels jumping. And then just double check your webcam. If you want it on, feel free to turn it on. Make sure you're picking the front face webcam so people can see your face. Otherwise, it might be the rear webcam and they'll just see whatever mess is beyond your desk. And then there's some additional settings. So when this first pops up here, you're just going to see the browser tab, desktop webcam, microphone webcam options, but you can click the text here that says more options to configure additional options. One thing I would highly recommend doing is turning on a countdown for yourself. So when you click on more options there, you'll see countdown. I highly recommend turning that on and giving yourself a countdown of at least 3 seconds. There is an option for like 5 seconds or 10 seconds. At least 3 seconds is good. That gives you a little bit of time to get set before the recording starts. And then once you have all of your settings configured, you'll go ahead and click record, and that will start recording your whole desktop screen. So one thing to keep in mind, and this goes in line with the idea of preparing your materials beforehand, when you record your desktop, you record the entire screen. So if you have some confidential email open, close it. If you've got a Moses report with grades open, close it. Anything you don't want people to see, close that and prepare your materials so that there's not any potential embarrassment later or any breach of confidentiality later, because it is recording your entire desktop. So you'll click record, and there might be a pop-up that prompts you on, which screen to share. You'll click on the screen, you'll click share, and then the countdown will start, and then your recording will start. So how do I know it's recording? There's a couple different ways that you can tell that it's recording. So one of the ways you can tell it's recording is if you're in Google Chrome, these little tools show up down here. These are your recording tools, and we'll talk about those in a minute. Additionally, when it's sharing your screen, there's going to be this little pop-up down here at the very bottom of the screen that says Screencastify is sharing your screen, and that's going to let you know that your screen is being shared. So once you're actually doing the recording, a couple things to keep in mind. Number one, move your mouse purposefully. It's very distracting to watch a screencast where somebody's shaking their mouth back and forth and they're moving it all over the screen, and there's not a real point in how they're moving it. Be very purposeful in how you're moving your mouse and with your clicks. One of the things I have to tell myself is once I click on something and I don't need to move my mouse, take my hand off of it until I'm ready to move it again. And as a reminder, speak conversationally, talk to the recording as if you're talking to a person. And then number 3 there, if you are doing something in Chrome, you can use these recording tools here to supplement your recording. So I encourage you just to play with these. There's a way to highlight your mouse so you can see where your mouse is moving. You can do annotations, so you can annotate on top of the Chrome recording. You can also erase those annotations, and you can see a little timer. There's also a pause button there, so you can pause that recording and come back to it. Another place to see some recording tools is to click back on the extension. So during a recording, you can always click on the extension there, and that will bring up the recording tools while you're actively recording. Once you click on that extension, it'll tell you here, recording however many seconds your desktop is being recorded. And then you see some different options there below. You can delete the recording, which means it'll just trash whatever you've done. The little arrow there will restart the recording. So it'll delete your recording, start the countdown, and let you record again. You can also pause the recording right from here, or you can stop the recording and formally end the recording. So the other way to end the recording is if you don't want to come back into the extension, maybe it just doesn't fit in the workflow of your video, you can also click that blue stop sharing button that shows up down at the bottom. And for this, there's no right or wrong. It'll just depend on where is a natural place for you. Typically, if I'm doing something not in Google Chrome, I will use that stop sharing button to stop my recording. All right, how are we doing so far? I can see, I haven't seen any questions come in, but I do see here there is one thing about not having access to the Chrome Web Store. Every staff member should have access to this. So if you're not having access, email the help desk and they can help you out with that. So every staff member should be able to install this from the Chrome Web Store. All right, so I'll take another little pause here to see if there's any other questions about what we've gone over so far. Okay. If something comes in, I'll come back and answer it. All right, so what happens when you stop the recording? So in order to end the recording and actually have a final product, you do need to formally stop it. And that's either using that red stop button in the extension or clicking the stop sharing button down below. Once you stop the recording, a new tab is going to open up for you in Google Chrome. So in this example here, on the slide here that I have, this was the tab I was recording. A new tab opened up with my video details on it. And what I can do here is I can watch the recording that I just did to make sure I'm happy with it. So the first thing I recommend is you're going to want to change the title. So the title is just going to be the date and time you started the recording. That's not going to be super helpful unless you have some magic photographic memory. I'm not going to remember what I was doing on April 12th at 2:30 in the afternoon. So I highly recommend you change the title. You can click in that title there, just click on the title and type to rename it. And just press enter on your keyboard to save that. If you want to watch the video and make sure that your sound worked and the recording worked how you wanted to, the video is played on mute by default. That's okay, you didn't do anything wrong. It kind of freaked me out the first time because I didn't hear my voice. You can use this click to unmute button here to unmute the video and actually hear yourself talk. And then your usual video controls are down there at the bottom. Play, pause, you can use that little dot to find a different place in the video. So you can go back and you can watch the screencast to make sure you're happy with the final product. And as I talked about, your video is automatically saved to your Google Drive. So there is going to be an upload progress bar right there. It'll say saving to Google Drive. Once it finishes and it'll say save to Google Drive, then that video is actually saved and you could just close out this tab if you're done with it. However, we do need to share this video. So I have some different options as far as sharing this video go. Once this is uploaded to Google Drive, I have this blue button here that shows up that says copy shareable link. I do need to wait for the upload process to finish before I do the shareable link. Once my upload process finishes and it's ready, I can then click copy shareable link, and I now have a link in my clipboard that I could then paste into an email. I could post on Schoology, I could post on my website. However you want to then share that video, that link is ready to go. So that's one way to share. Below that copy shareable link, you can see a couple other options here. You can get an embed code and you can embed it into Schoology. You can publish it to YouTube, which is going to require you sign into your YouTube account. So if you don't have one of those set up, don't worry about this. And then we don't have Google Classroom, but if we did, you could share to Google Classroom. Additionally, you might want to download this and you might want to pull it into another video editor like Adobe Rush and do some additional video editing to that. You certainly can do that with these download options here. You can download your Screencastify video as an MP4 video, an animated GIF, which if you're going to do an animated GIF, you want to keep that real short, like under 30 seconds. You can also download the MP3 file. So the MP3 is just going to be the audio of your recording as opposed to the video of your recording. So you can download this, edit this video, and then re-upload it somewhere wherever you're comfortable. If you decide you don't like this video, and that happens quite a bit, there's a ton of screencasts that I've had to delete, you can always delete the video. And that's with the little tiny trash can icon up there in the corner. You just hit delete. This is taken out of your Google Drive. It's dumped in your trash. You don't have to worry about it anymore. And then finally, you can trim the video like we talked about for free. If you like this video, but you want to cut off the front end because it was a little bit awkward, and you want to cut off the back end because you don't want to record the steps of you actually stopping the video, you can use these little scissors here to trim the video. And that will essentially let you just cut off the beginning and the end, however many seconds you need to. With the free version, you can't cut anything out of the middle, just the beginning and ends. So there's a lot you can do here after the recording. The big ones, though, really are going to be change the title. So definitely change the title. And then when you're ready to share it, you can copy that shareable link and send that to whoever you want to get it to. So what's the best way to share your screencast once you're done with it? That really depends on your audience. If this is going to your students, you're probably going to want to put it in Schoology. If this is for a staff member or a parent and you're doing it via email, you're going to want to do it via email. So the idea here is think about your audience and what the most natural way for them to get the screencast video is going to be, and then give it to them that way. And it might be multiple avenues. You might post it in Schoology, and you might also post it in your newsletter that you send out. Totally fine. So these here are some different examples here. You can put the link in Schoology. You can put it on YouTube. You could just post the link in your Outlook, put it in an email, and send it out. Or if, like I said earlier, you want to do some more video editing, you can use those download options to download the MP4 and bring that MP4 into something like Adobe Premiere Rush to do additional video editing. Then you would finalize that video and share that video via one of these other methods. So what I have here in this PowerPoint is just an example on how to share this with a link. This icon looks a little bit different because this is their old interface, but essentially you would just click the copy shareable link button. So you click copy link. It is now on your clipboard and you just paste it wherever you want to go. The next slide here, this is a video on how to upload to YouTube. This is something you can watch on your own. We're not going to watch this together because not everybody has a YouTube account. But if you do have a YouTube account, this video will walk you through how to get your Screencastify video onto YouTube. And then Screencastify has tons of help videos. So if you're, not quite comfortable with what we went over, you just need a little video here and there of some different things. This link here, screencastify.com/tutorials, will take you to their help page where they have a ton of different little mini videos on how to do Screencastify things. They have screencast videos on how to use Screencastify. It's pretty great. So definitely, if you're feeling uncertain, check out these resources. Also, feel free to reach out to me and I can certainly help you with your screencast recordings as well. All right, and that brings us to the end of the presentation. So I'm happy to answer any questions that came up. Feel free to post them in the chat, or you can come off a microphone and ask them out loud. While I'm waiting for some questions to come in, I posted the webinar attendance link. This is how you'll get credit for today, so please take a moment and fill out that link. Oh, I see here the form doesn't have Screencastify as an option. I will fix that. All right, thank you. Angela just updated the form. So go ahead and just refresh the page and try one more time for me. So the question here of is Screencastify recommended for teachers? I do recommend Screencastify for teachers. It is like we don't have a district license for it, but the free features are very robust, and the data privacy policy is something I'm comfortable with. So teachers are absolutely free to use it. I would not recommend having students sign up for accounts with Screencastify at this point, however. All right, thank you. If you feel like you've gotten what you need from the webinar, definitely feel free to use that red hang up button to leave. I'm going to hang out in case there's any other questions. My best advice with screencasting, though, is just jump in and just try a couple practice ones. No one's going to know if they turn out terrible. You just delete them and start over. So definitely just dive in and try it. I think you'll like this tool, and I find that it's pretty easy to use. And thank you for attending on this lovely Thursday afternoon. And I'll hang out for any other questions. And if you have any questions about how to optimally post it to Schoology once you've done a screencast, let me know. I can send you a quick screencast of how to either post the link or the embed code. Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your day too. Watch out for the unexpected heat wave. Look forward to hearing from you and others, Ruth. I'm happy to, we've got a lot of work to get the school year wrapped up, and so definitely feel free to shoot me an email with any questions you have.